Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of On the Rise with Kyle Bogey. I'm Lauren Plant, and thanks so much for checking this out. It's kind of an extension of what Kyle talks about every week on State Champs, which you can watch every Sunday at 9 a.m. on Fox Sports Detroit and many other times throughout the week. And so this is our version of the Recruit Report and talking about what's going on in and around the Great Lakes region. And we had some big news this week. Dalen Hayes, the Ann Arbor Skyline athlete who really is now done for the season. We didn't get a whole great opportunity to evaluate this kid, but he was headed to USC out in California, but obviously they have fired their head coach and he is now looking elsewhere.
Yeah, very interesting, but not something that I would say I'm surprised by. I mean, you've seen this young man, with his family, taking visits, doing other things, talking to other coaches, other staffs, other programs. This was a situation where I thought this was going to happen eventually anyway. With the Steve Sarkisian news, breaking, earlier this week. Obviously, I think it made it a lot easier for him and his family to just say, okay, we're not going to go all the way out to Los Angeles and become a Trojan. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with his recruitment as we move forward. But I think the big thing that you take away from this is when you're looking at programs, you're looking at colleges, you don't go for the coach. You don't go for coaching staff. You don't go for a position coach. You got to make sure that you're going to be comfortable living on that campus, in that area, with those teammates, all that kind of stuff that goes into it. Because coaches, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. And this is, of course, a weird circumstance, with Steve Sarkisian, but coaches are leaving constantly. So you got to make sure that it's the program, it's the school, and the atmosphere there before you make a decision on anything else. So
Dalen Hayes had started here young in his career, went on to California, played a couple of games, got hurt, came back to Michigan, gets hurt after only a couple of games. If you're in, you talk to universities, you get to talk to recruiters, and can they take on a project like this with?
Personally, I mean, obviously it's going to be tough. I think you do have to a certain extent, prove yourself a little bit more. And he's certainly not someone that has on the football field. He's been, in camp settings, sure, he's done that. Non-padded situations, all that kind of stuff. And of course, he looks, great. But at the same time, when you have only a few games on film and you're constantly transferring around and now decommitting and making, different decisions all the time, I think it makes it tough for coaches to trust his word and what it'll be, once he gets on campus.
Just to put this to bed, do you have a gut instinct as to where he may end up?
I don't right now.
Where has he been looking?
I really don't. I know, I don't think anything's going to happen with Michigan personally. I think Notre Dame is a school that is going to be involved in that situation. But right here, right now, I'm not saying there's a front runner or anything. All
right, so Michigan has brought in the Ohio State commit running back Kareem Walker.
Yeah, Kareem Walker, New Jersey native, in that 6 foot, 210-pound range, a real, guy who can run, between the tackles. And Michigan has been working him hard, trying to get him on campus. Of course, they did get him on campus. It looks like he might even be back for the Michigan State game as well. So Ohio State, of course, in response, they're hosting other running backs to host or to talk to in that 2016 class, just in case Walker decides, I'm going to go somewhere else. And I think this is trending in a way that says Ohio State's going to lose this running back. I don't know if it's going to be Michigan, but certainly right now it looks like the Wolverines have made a strong case to that guy.
Does Ezekiel Elliott come out after this year?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's done all you can. And obviously, you look at a situation like Leonard Fournette, he's the best running back. He would be the #1 overall pick if he were eligible. And now you're talking about, with Nick Chubb's injury, breaking his leg or his knee or whatever. You saw it was a gruesome injury. I can't believe I watched that video.
And but it may not even be as bad as initially projected.
It might not, but running backs have a shelf life.
It looked bad.
It looked terrible. But, like Fred Jackson in the NFL, I think he's 32 years old or 34 years old or something like that, oldest running back in the league. You got to get out, you got to go right away. Ezekiel Elliott's taken a pounding, so why wouldn't you, if you can, go.
And that's the one thing that maybe, they can say, look, we've got our feature back leaving, so there's going to be an opportunity being Ohio State. But obviously Michigan now featuring the running game so prominently, you get a great opportunity there. And I think they're going to be in on a lot of top running backs. How about some basketball news? Michigan recruiting a sleeper, huh?
Yeah, so Maishe Daly is a young man who entered AAU season with 0 offers. And at the end of this AAU season, he had 20 scholarship offers. He's a senior guard from the state of Ohio. He just blew up. He's in that 6'5" range. He's a swing guy. He can do a lot of different things. And he had a great year. He actually decided to reclassify to the 2017 class, so a lot of the smaller schools that were trying to get in on him basically called him up and said, "You've outplayed us. You're too good for us. We aren't going to continue recruiting you because other schools are going to get involved." So he's going to prep school for a year. He's going to get bigger. He's going to work on his game, and then obviously other offers are probably going to come his way. Michigan is a school that he recently visited. They love him. They wanted him to reclassify to the 2017 class, and they're making him an early priority as well.
Well, I thought this last point is interesting. I had been at a Farmington Hills Harrison game. I had talked to Kareem's dad. The next day they were going to Alabama for that big game against Ole Miss, a game in which he was on the sidelines and they lost. And now we're hearing he's not going to be going to Alabama. Yeah,
well, he officially announced his decommitment. Again, not a surprise. And they say in a playoff series in sports, it doesn't begin until a road team picks up a win. And in recruiting, it really doesn't start until coaches start getting fired and people start decommitting. And that's something, again, that I'm not surprised by. But this will be a quick situation. Alan True of Scott.com doing a great job all over this one. It looks like he's going to visit Notre Dame. Looks like a commitment to Notre Dame could be on the horizon very quickly.
Why do you think he decommitted?
He mentioned when he tweeted out in his statement or whatever that, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? A statement from a 17-year-old. But he did mention, talking to his family. I think family and staying closer to home is something that played a pivotal role in this.
Right. So obviously he was lured by the fact that he could go down there and play in Alabama. But again,
playing for Nick Saban is not exactly a picnic in the park. I don't know. Not that playing for Brian Kelly is going to be any easier,
right.
But
nor
still.
would it be for Jim Harbaugh, nor would it be for Urban Meyer. I mean, the top programs are difficult.
Don't forget Mark D'Antonio.
Yeah, of course. That's right. Oh my gosh, here comes the mail. Absolutely. So we'll see what happens with Khalid Kareem, and actually Michigan State would be a good option for him, I think. That is this week's On the Rise. Thanks so much for checking it out, and we'll see Kyle again right here next week. Make sure to check him out Sundays at 9 a.m. on State Champs.